Here's Johnny.
Welcome to my nightmare.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Let me play with this, Daddy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fear Freaks podcast. My name's Braden.
I'm Destiny.
And we are the Fear Freaks. Got a Saturday night episode tonight, people. Sorry that we couldn't do one during the week this week, but something came up, had to take care of it, but we're back. We're back on a Saturday night. Destiny and I are drinking. If you guys don't have a drink, maybe grab a drink. This is going to be a very fun episode. We've had a blast covering our top 5. Last week we did horror movie openings. This week we are continuing that trend with horror movie endings. It only makes sense that if we talked about the beginnings last week, we're going to talk about the endings this week. So how is it going tonight, chat? What percent is this?
I know, you have like how many drinks?
Chat, how we doing tonight? I do see that we've got Lamontre in the house. We've got Gory. I see Chris is going to be watching us later on tonight, saying looking forward to checking that out after work tonight. But we've got Brettman in the house. Mago, what's going on? Sebastian, I see you in here. Ashton, how are you? Who else we got in here? Holy cow, we got our first super chat. Brettman, guess what? So let's read what it is. Good job at fixing the spelling. Thank you. I will address that here in a second. I do want to say that we have a brand new super chat lineup, meaning that we've got different videos for different super chats that we get. It's so fun. I had such a great time putting this together. Destiny actually helped me put it together. I was just editing them and cutting them down, all the technical stuff. But no, Destiny had a really some stellar suggestions. So you know what? Right off the bat, we're going to start off with a Bob's Burgers one.
First, you got to make some money for mommy. Okay, baby?
So that's the first one, but now we've got different videos. So the Tropic Thunder one is still in here, but where will that come up? Which one will you get if you decide to super chat? So that is a new feature available. Super chatting is, of course, not required, but highly appreciated. Brettman, thank you so much for being the first super chat. I hope that you enjoyed that one a lot. But yeah, he says, hot damn. Yeah, I know, not that one. That one will come up eventually. And it'll annoy Destiny every single time still, I'm sure. So, Destiny, you've suffered long enough, but now you've got your own Bob's Burgers one. We have a Family Guy one in there, and we also have a Simpsons one in there as well. So, got a pretty stellar lineup ready to rock and roll. So, but yes, let's address the elephant in the room. Brettman gave us the super chat because I did have Destiny's last name misspelled under her social media section for like the last literal however long we had this new purple moon backdrop. Like that's very embarrassing,
It's been a while. I didn't notice till the other night though. Yeah, you misspelled it. I just never really looked, I guess. And then the other night I was just sitting here and I was like, what the fuck? And it's been misspelled. He can't say it to save his life and he can't freaking spell it either. But that's okay. It's just, it's not surprising, it does hurt like a little bit, but 5 months, Brett just said he checked. 5 months. My
That's
last
crazy.
name is misspelled. I don't do anything for the channel really. So, maybe that's my punishment is.
I mean,
also,
honestly,
I'm sure, it kept some people out because they couldn't find me, hopefully, because you misspelled my last name.
perhaps they were looking for Destiny Faulker instead of Faulkner. So, yeah, maybe that. And did I say the last name correctly right there? I think I did.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Let's go. Point for Braden right there saying the name correctly. And I also did your little @ because apparently I didn't have the @ right by her Instagram either. I had it for mine.
This is perfect though. I'm so glad you really paid attention to your side.
All my stuff was absolutely 100% accurate. Hers, we had to work on that a little bit. So you know what? Thank gosh. And Brettman, you didn't help me with the 5 months thing. So you know what? Respectfully, fuck off. No, don't do that. We're super glad to have you in here tonight. We're happy to have all of you guys in here tonight. But as we get started, or before we get started, Destiny, what's happening within your world of horror for this upcoming, or for this past week, really?
Not really a whole lot horror movie wise, but I did watch a couple of movies. I just have to get to them. So I did watch Green Room. And that was actually like Misael's suggestion on our last live stream. He said to watch it. And I was kind of like wondering why, because it almost had nothing to do with what we were talking about until I realized it's because they are like a rock band. And that's why, because I was talking about The Devil's Candy. And I was like, oh, cool, which I did enjoy it. I didn't realize though until after the movie was over, I thought I was watching Escape Room. I thought the entire time going in, I was going to be watching Escape Room. And I know like Escape Room is like it's kind of like a Saw-esque type movie. And the whole time I was watching Green Room, I was like, this feels nothing like Saw. I'm so confused. Just to realize 2 different movies. But I did enjoy it still. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. So I very much enjoyed it. It wasn't anything too crazy. And it's an A24 film. So that's pretty cool. But the cast was great. And then after that, I watched Zombieland Double Tap, which I thought was fun. I don't think it was that great, though. And it was actually pretty disappointing because I do think the first Zombieland is so good. And that was one that I watched so many times as a kid, like when it came out. And so, like, doing a sequel so far after it felt so kind of, like, weird. And then watching it, I feel like it still wasn't even necessary. Like, I don't think we needed this movie. And it was a little frustrating because they are pulling off the same stuff that they did in the first movie that you would think, like, 10 years later, there'd be more growth and stuff like that. Like, they wouldn't fall back into the same ploys they did in the first movie. But they do that. And so it was kind of frustrating in a way because I was like, I would expect our characters to develop differently. And it was a larger cast and there were so much more people in the movie, and it felt weird for that reason too, because you would think if there's going to be more people, it would have been in the first movie when the outbreak first happens, not 10 years later when there's like new strains of zombies and they're getting stronger and everything. They're more of like Train to Busan zombies at this point. So like watching it, I was just like, whatever. But it had some good laughs. The opening was cool because we get Master of Puppets. I like that they kept with the Metallica song as the opening. That was a lot of fun. It had Luke Wilson in it for a little bit, which is pretty cool. It's just, I don't think we needed it, but it was a fun turn your brain off, sort of movie. But it wasn't anything too special in my opinion. Last night, the last drive-in was on, so we watched Sharknado, and most of Amsterdam fell asleep during Amsterdam, and I was out of it for most of it.
Dude, I literally passed out. I was out cold, like during.
I had to look up the killer because didn't make it, and I was so upset because I woke up at like 4 a.m. after, and I was like, "Fuck, who was the killer?" Because I was trying my hardest just to see who the killer was, and I just did not make it. And I also rewatched Evil Dead Rise because it's on HBO Max or Max now, so I rewatched that. So that's really about it, horror wise. Oh, yeah. The Ring. I rewatched The Ring as well.
The Ring, very nice.
Thank you.
That's stellar. That is definitely a stellar list. More than me. I mean, this week, literally nothing really horror related going on. But last night we did watch Sharknado, and I watched half of Amsterdam, and and we were talking about that earlier today too. I was intrigued by what I saw. It was just more of like I was so tired that I really tried. You saw me. I was like trying to keep my eyes open as much as I could, but I ended up passing out. So, it is a movie that I didn't hate per se. I mean, I was just more. It did have some really good action stuff going on. Like it had a really stellar boat chase, which was really cool. And that boat chase, Joe Bob told us, is 8 minutes long. Like they literally, and apparently it took like a year to acquire all of the permits and stuff to shoot that entire scene. So that was really, really awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely something like I do want to go back and like actually watch it because it was really interesting, and it was like It's a movie that I have not seen before. It's a slasher movie, but it's like an underwater, but still above water slasher. Don't get me wrong, but it's the whole look of the killer and everything. It was just something that I have not seen like at all before. So it was really interesting. I definitely want to go back and rewatch it. The episodes get uploaded tomorrow, so maybe tomorrow if I have the time, I would like to go back and rewatch the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. But yeah, like that's really it, like with horror for me this week. I mean, I haven't had a chance to rewatch Evil Dead Rise yet. I know that's currently on Max. I know that comes on 4K and Blu-ray this upcoming week on Tuesday, I think. So yeah, if you guys are looking to snag it, Brett, man, I see you. The 3-hour time difference. Yeah, I know. It was only like what, 10? It was 10. You commented on that too. You're like,
Yeah.
it's only 10 o'clock. I was like, I don't care. I was up at 4:40 a.m. yesterday, so that's all I'll say.
Wow.
Wah. Yep. But nonetheless, yeah. That's pretty much all I did for horror this week. So with all that being said, let's jump into the top 5. But before we get into the top 5, we do have, like last week, 2 honorable mentions when it comes down to endings. So, Destiny, as always, you go first. What are your honorable mentions that you have on your list for best horror endings?
Okay, for my first one, I have The Orphanage. And I don't want to go into this one too much because it is sort of like a twist ending. But if you've seen the movie is so sad, and the ending made me cry so hard. And the ending is just so like poetic and like beautiful, even though it is like devastating. It's just the way they wrap up the story and like everything falls into place and all these clues are finally like paid off. And you kind of think going into it, it's going to be like a really, like whenever I went into it, I thought it was going to be like a really scary sort of haunted house movie, which it still is. It's still effective and it's still pretty creepy. But usually the ghosts are like bad, and in this case it's really not that. But The Orphanage, really sad movie, but it's so good. And then for my second honorable mention, I have Evil Dead 2013. Everything from, I would say, for whenever the brother sacrifices himself all the way to the end. She's going against the demon. She gets her hand freaking crushed by the Jeep. She has to rip it off. She saws this thing in half. It's raining blood, so there's blood everywhere, all the way up until she finally kills the thing and everything is done for. And then we get an end credit with Bruce Campbell at the very end, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Evil Dead 2013, definitely worth all the carnage that we get at the end. And it's a lot of fun. And it's freaking raining blood. You don't get to see that too often.
Yeah, that is very true. Like, Evil Dead 2013 does have a really stellar ending. It's brutal, it's violent, it's bloody, all that stuff you love to see in those movies, the main characters covered in blood, right? So those are 2 really solid ones. And The Orphanage is directed by J.A. Bayona, who ended up directing Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which, yes, is probably the weakest installment, but Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom still has some fun to it. I think so, even though it does turn into like that haunted house, like I feel like after you found out that like most of the movie takes place in a mansion, you were like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, it does kind of turn into that like haunted house, just monster in a house type of movie. Still has some fun. Like, it's got some great chase sequences. And I do think that J.A. Bayona is a great director. I just wish that he had something better to work with, because I would have liked to see, but everything that does take place on Isla Nublar and all that stuff in the beginning, he's great. I just think he's good overall, and yes, he does direct that movie very well. It's been a while since I've seen The Orphanage. I do want to watch that movie again for a fact, so definitely do want to add that to a list for the future. You okay?
Yeah, I was just thinking, can I rewatch that?
Oh,
I think it would be a good day to do like just a bunch of sad ones all together, like Train to Busan. Imagine, okay, a triple feature of Final Girls, Train to Busan, and The Orphanage. I would have to like not go to work for like a week. I would probably need a
You
lot
know
of
what
time
that
to
calls?
recover.
That calls for the ultimate Fear Freaks episode. That means what we're gonna do
My
is
eyes are watering now just thinking about it.
we're gonna do a back-to-back-to-back triple feature watch party, and it's gonna be an all-day event. We're gonna have some drinks and all that stuff, and we're gonna watch all 3 of those movies. So
There we go. Who needs therapy when you can just
when you guys can come to us, you guys come to us. We're
don't
all
come to me?
well. No. I
I'm
mean,
not your
like,
therapist.
listen. Come to us while we're live, okay? Let's chat about it while we're live. We can all look at the comments and everything like that together, and go from there. So,
Okay.
yeah. Let's see here. Menelect, what's going on? Welcome in. I just saw your comment come up. So, Maddie, what's going on to you too? I saw you came in as well. So, my 2 honorable mentions for best horror endings. And I know this is going to surprise some of you because you guys are like, what the fuck? Like, these aren't on like the top 5. No, there's 5 more that I found to be better. But first one is Sleepaway Camp. Obviously, iconic for the ending and everything like that. I've seen the movie like 3 times in my life. It's not like how many can you count how many times you've seen Sleepaway Camp, or have you just seen it so many times that you don't know?
I would say probably about 10 times because I only found this movie in like 2020, I would say. So it's not like one that's been around forever. But since then, at least 10 times because I do like to show this movie to people for the ending. So
Yeah, no, I mean the whole movie is kind of like your basic slasher at camp summertime movie. The end though is, I mean, obviously everybody knows what the ending is, and it's when it's revealed to be a man. Like everything that whole thing is just so disturbing. I'm gonna shut up now because I'm sure we're gonna be talking about this here later on. But what do you call it? Then Silence of the Lambs is my next honorable mention. The Silence of the Lambs is fantastic. Anthony Hopkins did win the Oscar for Best Actor in 1992 for this movie. Rightfully so, because he is fantastic as Dr. Lecter in this movie. And just the ending when he's talking to Clarice and he's literally saying, I'd love to chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Like, it's just like, ugh! It's like, my God, like it's so damn good. And just that line, it literally like haunts people. I was reading some of the comments of like just what people were saying on YouTube. And I mean, he doesn't say I'm eating with an old friend for dinner or I'm having a friend over for dinner. He says I'm having an old friend for dinner. And that is just like something that is just so chilling that it's just like, and then he just hangs up. Which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, The Silence of the Lambs gets that. It's a brilliant movie, brilliant performance by Anthony Hopkins. You and I were just watching Thor: The Dark World earlier, and honestly, that's why I say anytime I see Anthony Hopkins, I'm like, it's always just great to see him in a movie because the man is just amazing. So yeah, Silence of the Lambs for me for that second honorable mention.
all right. Are you ready?
Yep.
Top five. Okay. My number 5, I have Ready or Not. Mainly because the entire movie is like you're questioning whether or not this whole like curse thing is real and if they're really like playing because they are so serious about this. And you have Samara Weaving's character who just got married into the family and she thinks it's all a joke until her husband tries to like explain to her like, no, I think this is real, but we can still try to get out this way. And then there's that turn in the end. And then finally it's sunrise. And I like that it kind of has like a pause between because then you have the goofy husband saying like, holy shit, like it was fake, and then they start blowing up. And then one by one, they just take turns blowing up while she's just watching it and she's laughing and it's so funny. And she's snorting because she's laughing so hard because everyone around her is just blowing up, which rightfully so. They just spent this entire evening trying to kill her. And now they're all dying right in front of her because they didn't make the time. And then she looks at her husband and says that she wants a divorce and throws a ring. And then he explodes, and then she's just outside smoking a cigarette. Everything's on fire, and then in-laws. That's it, and then end credits. It's so good. It is such like the payoff is so worth it because again, you yourself you don't know whether or not it is true, and I like that it was true. And I saw some people say like they wish it wasn't true, and then they like got arrested and stuff and went to jail. Like in real life, yeah, sure, but like for a movie, I think it's fun to see them blow up and to like get covered in blood like that, like the behind the scenes where they are like shooting this like little cannon off, and it's like caramel syrup and like food coloring and then like bananas like mushed up. That's so much fun. So
Yeah.
ready or not, I absolutely
Okay.
love it. It's so good, and they have this song playing again while everyone's blowing up. That is amazing.
Yeah. No, that's a really good choice, honestly. I struggled pre-show to forget that came out in 2019. So, only a couple years old for that one, but that just movie is so fun. And I think it's a really great overall story, and it's got some really great kills to it as well. So yeah, and the ending, like you said, is awesome. So, and Bretman did say In-Laws. Maddie says Ready or Not and The Menu actually does have a really stellar ending. I honestly wasn't really thinking of a whole lot of newer movies when it comes down to it. I was thinking more of like, what are some of the classics, but yeah, The Menu does have a really good ending as well, for sure. I
Yeah,
just think
that
I
would be
need to give. Oh, go ahead.
a great double feature because it's about like rich people and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
that would be a lot of fun.
Double feature watch along in the future for Fear Freaks. So we're gonna have some long episodes, guys, but it'll be worth it for sure. So my number 5 on my list is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. The Shining. I don't think I need to say anything about the ending that it hasn't necessarily been said before, but that picture on the wall as the camera zooms in, and I'm not even just like talking about that final shot. I'm just like overall thinking of the ending, like as Jack is chasing Danny through the maze and everything. Like, I mean, with the axe, and just really the entire third act is amazing. But it really is that final shot of like the camera just like pushing in on that picture, and it's saying that essentially Jack, has he been there the whole time? Like, so many film historians and people have tried to break this thing down forever, and it's really left just a burning image, and people's like, what the fuck does that mean? And I just think that it's such a chilling way to end the movie. It's definitely one of those shots where it leaves an audience talking. And that's, I think, what any filmmaker wants, is after an audience has sat down and watched their movie, is to have them talk about it, is to have them say what they liked. And that is essentially what has been, there's been a lot of talk about The Shining, but that final shot is literally what's been talked about just forever. So Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is number 5 on my list.
Okay, number 4 of all time.
Yeah, this is our favorite endings of all time. Yeah.
And also, like, that's like as of right now. It could always change.
It could.
My number 4 is Sleepaway Camp. You talked about it earlier. For everything that you said, oh my God, hold on. Anyways, for everything that you said, it is like a pretty straightforward sort of like a summer slasher whodunit. And it's really weird. It's so bizarre. A lot of strange dialogue and like delivery, and that's what I love about it, because it is just such like a weird movie. And then you get to the end where there is that reveal, because like you have Angela like telling Paul, like, like meet me at the waterfront after the social, and like she's like, let's go swimming, and she's like being super like ominous, even though like the whole time she's been like standoffish and like quiet, but then she starts like open up and everything. And then we get towards the end where there's like a flip with like just her face, really. And then when they find her, she's on the beach cradling a decapitated head. And then it's revealed that she is a boy. And the whole time she's been Peter, her brother, and that Angela had died. But their aunt made her, or Peter, be her. Yeah. because she wanted a little girl and she already had a little boy. And that's so fucked up because she fucked up this kid. But it's just something that like you don't see coming because like I would have never guessed that. And even though whenever I watch this with people, they are always like, oh, so the girl died. And I always have to be like, oh no, it was the brother. Like I have to hurry up and try to like, I was like, no. The brother's one that died. The girl's still great. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But because you can tell that if you pay attention to the opening, you can tell which one actually does die. But
Yeah.
the ending, it's just so great because you just don't see it coming, and it's just so like out there, and it definitely sticks with you. And Felissa Rose is so freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I love her so much. So Sleepaway Camp, it is a perfect what the fuck like little movie.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Denise, how's it going? You're all good. We just been same thing talking about horror movies. Tonight's is top 5 horror endings. So if you have some, feel free to share with us. But glad that you're joining us here from a family party. No, I think that everything you said about Sleepaway Camp definitely is a perfect description as to why that ending is just so iconic and why it's just so WTF, and really why you want to have people watch it for that ending specifically. It's like you got to sit there the whole movie and then just like
literally you're watching the person next to you.
Yeah, you're not even like watching the movie at that point. You're just kind of like so exactly. No, but excellent choice for Sleepaway Camp. My number 4 on the list goes to Jaws. I know I kind of gave that away last week when we were talking about horror movie openings, but Jaws is definitely one of those movies that I think has a really great ending to it. I think the third act of Jaws is essentially nail biting, like when the shark is actually up and active, the most active, I should say, because like the whole movie, the shark pops in and out, you know, like we see it from time to time. And then really it's like when the 3 are out at sea is when, like, you know, we get the most of the shark. But really, like on the final day or the final morning, and all hell breaks loose and the boat and the orca starts going down and everything. But really it's just like when Chief Brody is like, all hope is almost lost. Like if that boat sinks, he's pretty much toast. So it's like, and the music by John Williams in the final scene is great. It's exciting. And then you get the smile, you son of a boom, and you just see him explode. It's fucking awesome. So Jaws, there's a lot to like about the movie as a whole. The opening is obviously iconic. But the ending, I feel like it cannot be underlooked. The ending of Jaws is just as fantastic as the rest of the movie. So,
yeah, I would agree. It didn't make my list, but I do love it, and I love the movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my number 3. I wonder if they would ever make another one. You know, well, they made Return to Sleepaway Camp, and I think that was like 2014 or 20, it was in the 2010s, maybe even 2016 or something. And that movie like is so hard to find. You can't, I don't even think they sell it. Like I've seen people sell like copies of it, and that's probably like not legal, but it's so hard to find this movie. And it's not, I've seen the kill count, and like you can just tell like the movie's not that great. But if they would ever make like another one, I'm gonna say probably not. I don't see them remaking that. And even if they did, like, it's not going to hit the same because, like, we already know. Unless they were to take out the ending and just make it, like, you know, again, like a straightforward slasher. Something like Fear Street 78 would be cool. Because I just want more camp slashers that are, like, modernized.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Okay. My number 3, I have Midsommar. Mainly because I love this movie. I love Danny. I don't love everything she goes through, but I feel for everything she goes through because I feel like I relate to her character and a lot of like her situations and everything. And I know like there's so much talk when it comes to the ending because like obviously this is not exactly like a good for her movie because she is now like indoctrinated into this cult. And like that is not a good thing either. Like you don't want to be a part of this cult. But it's like she finally has a place to call home, even though it is a part of a cult and it is fucked up. But you know, everything that has happened with her boyfriend, with like her like friend, everything like that, everyone's like dying, and she's made the Maid Queen. Everyone's like on fire, or they have like the building burning on fire, and it's that shot of her crying and like weeping, and then it switches to where she has that smile, and you can see like the acceptance and like peace and like the comfort in her face, even though again what she's going through is still not great.
Yeah.
But just to see that relief, it's after all the emotions that she goes through and everything she's like pushed to, just for that final shot of her smiling, it's so good. It's like cathartic in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I love Midsummer. I love that ending. Whether you read it however you want to read it, I think it's wonderful.
Really stellar overall movie. Before I give my commentary on that, I just want to say hello to Todd. I saw Todd in the chat here saying that his favorite horror movie ending is the last scene in the original Carrie, which is definitely a really good pick for a fact. Rosie, what's going on? Welcome in. Glad to have you in here. But Des, to kind of pick up on what you were talking about with Midsummer, yeah, that movie, I feel like Ari Aster films in general are like you love them or you hate them. I haven't seen Beau is Afraid yet, but I am definitely excited to see it whenever I have the opportunity to sit down and watch it. It is 3 hours, so I know it demands, you know, a stellar couple hours to watch it. But nonetheless, I feel like that Midsummer, it really did show, and I love the colorness of Midsummer. Like, I feel like that Midsummer is a movie where it shows that you don't need everything to be dark and creepy and moonlit, but you can make something just as effective in the daytime, in broad daylight. And that's exactly what Ari does a great job at doing here. And yeah, that end scene, not only is the third act just incredibly disturbing on a disturbing like scale, it's just like that ending is just like, you know, what the fuck. It's like just like there, I would honestly say that that's kind of like his shining ending. It's just like, what is Danny thinking? Like, you know, like what is going on in the mind of that character, you know? So I think that it's just it's a great overall movie.
It's so good. It's definitely one I want to watch soon because it's so freaking hot outside. Like right now it's like a perfect time to watch it. The last time I watched it with Mia. We were drinking and watching Midsummer. It was just, you know, and like when they start crying together, I want to do that so bad. I just want to get a group of girls and we all just cry together because that just looks so like I need that. I need it. I can probably cry right now. I don't know why. I'm always on the verge of crying.
Well, it's just you. That's all. Nothing wrong with that. But, you know, it's okay to get your emotions on out. Feel free to cry. I'll start crying too. Right now, let's just have
Everyone
a cry.
start crying. Make me feel better.
No, but that's a really stellar pick. What are we on? 3? Yeah.
Yes.
Number 3 on my list goes to the one, the only, the classic Halloween. I've been doing ever since I did my Halloween review on my channel. That's how I've always introduced Halloween, because they've got that TV spot like where they've got the voiceover that does that. But Halloween is number 3 on my list. I think that the ending of this movie is so effective for so many different reasons, because not only is this a complete movie, but really the final shots, I mean, just like, let me start here. Let's start with the chase, because the chase of this movie is perfectly executed. It's elongated. It's like it builds the suspense. And even though I have heard people I've watched Halloween with in the past say, like, why hasn't Michael Myers, like, you know, been like, because she runs right next door to the neighbor's house after she leaves the Wallaces, and runs right to the neighbor's house, bangs on the door. Neighbor's a dickhead and ignores it, right? She then takes off all the way across to the Doyle house, and she's still banging on the door. And then we finally see Michael Myers, like, where he's at. But the reason that this scene is so effective is because of how elongated it is, right? Like, you see him, he's all the way on the back end of the Wallace house, and then he has to make his way all the way across the street, and she's still not in the house. It builds suspense, and it's a great chase scene. But really, that the final shots of Halloween, when you hear the breaths and the breathing, yes, from one side, it's pretty much all the locations that we were at in the movie, but on the other end, it's the message that he's everywhere, that Michael Myers is going to be everywhere. And that is the one thing about Halloween, is that Michael is essentially that guy. If you're afraid of walking home alone at night, he's the one that's watching you. Or if there's somebody in the distance watching you, it's Michael Myers. So, I mean, just really the overall message of the ending, and just like Halloween, again, just it was made for $300,000 and grossed like a little over 70 million worldwide, making it one of the most profitable movies of all time. Fucking amazing. Just John Carpenter, hats off to him for his direction. Love Halloween. That's number 3 on my list.
All right, number 2 on my list is also Halloween. Kind of hate that you went first, because you kind of stole literally everything that I was going to say with like the closing shots. Oh, we get was at the boogeyman yeah. And again, you said with the shots with them not being there, but you hear the breathing, and it's showing all these, which the movie does such a great job of like setting up like the layout of like each house we're in, like each location we're in, because towards the end we're really only in these 2 houses. And then like you said, when it starts that chase scene and he's all the way back there, the music's building, which it's probably like my favorite score of the movie, because it just gets like my heart racing, because you can feel it. And then everything from the final scene to him, like to Loomis showing up, shooting him, he falls off, and they look down, he's gone, and then we hear the breathing still to show that he is still around. And like you said, he's like everywhere, but he's nowhere at once, and that's what makes it so creepy. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes Michael Myers so effective. And like the whole aura of Michael Myers is like, he is the boogeyman. He's like everything you're scared of in just one shape. Wow.
Yeah.
They really nailed it with that when they came up with that.
I mean, honestly, they nail Halloween to really on every level. Like, I mean, it's simple, it's effective, it's not violent, which is definitely one thing I forget a lot of people nowadays forget, that consider themselves big Halloween fans, but then they'll see a Halloween movie and be like, oh, it wasn't violent enough, or like Michael wasn't crazy enough. And it's like, okay, so then are you a fan of just the character of Michael Myers? Are you like that? Kind of like dawns the question as to like what kind of Halloween fan would you consider yourself? Are you the one that likes the brutal kills that Michael Myers has later in the franchise? Are you somebody that just likes the music? Like, but me, I like Halloween because of just the simplicity of it. I don't need a violent movie. I need a scary movie. And Michael Myers was the first icon to scare the shit out of me as a kid. So, for many reasons, like I would go to bed and just hear the breathing in my fucking closet. Like, and I know nothing was there, but I would hear it because I would like watch it. And then I'd just be like, ugh, the boogeyman's in my closet. Like,
oh my God, that's crazy. That was not me as a kid.
No, yeah. But that's what that's what I liked about it. Again, he was the first one that genuinely scared the shit out of me. So, but I loved that too. I loved being scared. Like, I like being scared today. Like, if a movie can scare me or if a haunted house can genuinely scare me, then it does a great job. Because, like, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to go in. Like, I want to be scared. Fucking try and scare the shit out of me. Like, if I walk out and I'm like, oh, I saw that coming, you didn't really do a great job. Like genuinely surprise me and let's get this thing going. So.
Yeah, I want a really good scary movie. I always try to seek them out, but nothing, I don't know, nothing hits the same anymore, I feel like.
Nope. I don't even know what you're talking about, Brett, man. I don't know what you're talking about at all. So, but yes, essentially like that, because I did jump while I was on this screen during that pipe scene. And like, I mean, yeah, very much like that though. I will say that was effective because it got me. Like, you know, granted I wasn't paying attention, but you know, yeah, that's what happened. I'm the kind of fan that hates Halloween Resurrection. Yeah, me too. I also very much dislike Resurrection. So, but Brother Fluff, what's going on? I hope that you're doing well here tonight. Maddie says Rob Zombie's Halloween was brutal, and for me too brutal. That bathroom scene made me anxious as fuck. Yeah, the bathroom scene is definitely one of those elongated kills in Halloween 2007 for a fact. But yeah, I think that I think that Rob Zombie's Halloween it was brutal, and sometimes the blood was a little too dark for my liking. Like that opening kill when he kills the kid from school with
It's
the
like
branch.
black.
Yeah, the blood was just definitely a little too. It was almost as if they put too much Hershey dark chocolate in the blood mix, you know.
Yeah, I've done that. It takes a lot of red to balance that out, but it does look a little dark. It looks like, because you know, like it looks already dried, because whenever blood dries, it dries dark. So it looks like the blood's already like immediately dried on his face.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I mean, I think that there's some things that could have been done with the effects in Rob Zombie's Halloween. But yeah, it is brutal, but also the thing that kind of like makes it okay is that Rob Zombie did something different with a remake. Like my thing with remakes is if they're going to try something new, then make sure that it's new and it hasn't been done in the franchise before. So, you know, that's essentially what Rob Zombie did. But okay, moving on. Is it my number 2 now? Oh shit. Okay, sounds good. Number 2 for me. And don't worry, Des, I'm not going to take the spotlight for you on this one because I know exactly what's coming up next for you as well. Number 2 for me is Scream, the ending of Scream. So Des, this is your number 1. We might as well just have the Scream discussion right now. So, you know, go ahead and tell everybody what your number 1 favorite ending is of all time. Let's hear it. 3, 2, 1, and
It is Scream. It is Scream. How can it not be? You know, it's my favorite movie ever. It's my favorite franchise. I just love Scream so much. And with the ending, we're kind of how we were talking about the opening with like the original Halloween, how like you forget that we're not supposed to know like this is Michael Myers and like this is supposed to be like a little boy, and it's like, oh my god. And that's how I feel with the ending of Scream is like I feel like I've never, obviously at one point I did know that I didn't know the killers, but I can't remember that time, so it's like I can't picture it like being surprised by it. But the people in the theaters to go in and it to be 2 killers, and for one of them to be Billy, which I feel like isn't that big of a surprise because he is weird like the entire movie, and he is like, oh, if anyone's a killer, it's going to be him. But then there's a surprise that there's 2 killers, and then the second killer is Stu, and then on top of that, we find out more about Sydney's mom that you can tell with Stu's reaction that he didn't even know that Sydney's mom was sleeping with Billy's father. Like you can see Stu even is like kind of like, what the fuck? And so we're still finding out more about it. But the fact that there's 2 killers and one of them is Billy, the other one is Stu, all the stuff that comes out with Sydney's mom, it's just so great. And it's such like it's a long ending too. Like when it gets to that third act, it's a long third act, but everything is so worth it. And then you have Sydney just being like the badass she is, and it already is like setting up what kind of final girl she's going to continue to be, because like this is her first movie, but she's already so strong and she's already like kicking so much ass. I love it. I love everything about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's really nothing that we haven't talked about in the past. We actually do. I was looking at our episodes. We do have a standalone Scream episode where we have talked about Scream 96. And so that is currently on the channel if you guys want to go back. I think that was like one of our first episodes. I think that was like episode 3 or something like that when we did the show, because we were talking about that, getting ready for Scream 5 at the time. Like, you know, that's crazy how long that's actually been. But yeah, so if you guys are curious to hear more in-depth thoughts about that, we do break that down quite a bit in that episode. But yeah, like you were saying, just the ending. Yeah, the ending's like I think a 37-minute ending. Like from like the whole party scene is like all 37 minutes long, and it's a fantastic ending. It's suspenseful. It's got jokes to it that actually do feel well placed and everything. We get some great kills at Stu's house. Great chase. The chase sequence is one of my favorites when Sydney's running and she goes down the stairwell, and then Ghostface comes running down, and it's almost. And I love the little movement that he has too. Like he like stops and like does like that. And it could just be that it's from like him running, but it's also kind of like a bitch, like
Yeah,
it's
like where are you going?
Where are you gonna go? Nowhere. So that's just like a little detail I've always noticed. Yeah, but the suspense and then the reveal, obviously, the kitchen scene when you really do get why they're doing what they're doing. And I love how they're like playing it off, like when Billy's like, you hear that, Stu? I think she wants a motive, and all that stuff. So yeah, I just think that it's what a fucking movie, man. I love that movie more and more every time I watch it. Definitely a movie that I love showing to people for the very first time. Just people who've never seen it, love showing it to them for the opening, for the story. And that's why I always say too, I'm like, dude, like it's such a fun movie because it's like you got to figure out who it is, And the thing is that some people don't realize that at the end that they do find out who it is, But yeah, it's a great movie. So yeah, great pick. But my number one favorite horror movie ending of all time goes to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. The end of Psycho, that final dolly in on Norman Bates as he's just sitting there and his mother's giving that, dialogue and everything, the voiceover. And he just kind of like looks up and he just gives that creepy smile. Fuck, is it absolutely chilling. And I don't know. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I remember seeing Psycho for the first time. I was very little, but I mean, like, it was definitely one of those movies that had a long impact on me. And I still love this movie to death. I think that the twist also, this movie has a great twist. This movie also has the thing. There's a theater I was at not too long ago. Well, this is back when I was in Illinois, so technically it was. But yeah, the Hollywood Palms, they actually have one of the Psycho posters where it's got Alfred Hitchcock pointing at his watch saying it demands that you be seated for Psycho by this time because you would not be able to get into this movie late. Like if you showed up late, you were unable to watch it. Alfred Hitchcock had a strict rule on Psycho that you had to see the movie from the opening to the closing. And I thought that, and I think that that's just great because he wants everybody to experience it. But yeah, Psycho was it was, is, and always will be, I think, absolutely amazing. So I love this movie. I was telling Des before this that on the Universal Studios tour at Universal Hollywood, you get to go by the Bates Motel, and he comes out, and during Halloween Horror Nights, you could take a picture with Norman Bates in front of the Psycho house at Universal Hollywood. It's so cool. So yeah, Psycho is my favorite horror movie ending of all time. Hasn't changed. That was actually hard for me. I was debating between where to put Halloween, Scream, and Psycho, but I was like, no, Psycho is definitely one of those endings where I was just kind of like, yeah, I feel like it deserves this spot. But Des, you don't like Psycho. Tell us a little bit why you don't like it.
Look, I hate to show my age here, really, but I have fallen into the group of people that if you do not have my attention, I am just checked out. And that's exactly what happened when I watched Psycho. I've only seen it once, but also it's like, it's one of those movies that it's like, you know, without having to watch it, because all of this is everywhere in pop culture. I already knew Norman Bates, I already knew the reveal, I already knew the twist, I already knew Laura, what's her name? Crane?
Hmm?
The girl?
Oh, you mean Jamie Lee's mom?
Yes.
In a little while. Hold on.
All
Psycho.
I can think about is from Scream
Oh,
6.
Marion Crane.
Marion Crane. All I can think about was Samara Weaving in Scream 6. Marion Crane. I already knew, so I already knew all this. And so it kind of sucks whenever, which it's just because it's like everywhere. But when you're like watching a movie and you know exactly how it's going to like play out because you know all the key moments from the movie, so you're just like waiting for that. And I'd already read the book because I read the book whenever I was in high school, which I did really enjoy the book. I know Brett's saying to rewatch it. I will rewatch it. I do own it. I bought it from Walmart, so I have the Blu-ray, and that's how I watched it. But I watched it that one time, one day. I just wasn't fully into it. Yeah, and it's not like I don't like older movies or classic movies, because I do. There's so many that I like, but this one, it just didn't. And I hate saying that because I know, like I know how important this movie is and how big this movie is and how much it did. I get that. I'm fully aware, but I just did not really care for it.
Okay.
But I will watch it again. And there's an episode of that 70s show where it's a Halloween episode, and the entire episode is Alfred Hitchcock movies, and I love the bit that they do for Psycho. It's really funny. Watch party and let Braden in the chat.
Maybe this, because I have wanted to do like I feel like a watch party would be fun. We could do that when we get closer to Halloween. I feel like this is definitely a good October one to sit down and watch. So I definitely think, and Bretman, I actually also like your suggestion up here too. Horror movies that you want to show people, which I feel like would be like a solid top 5 list. I don't know if there's like 10 full ones, but I know for a fact there's like 5 of them that if you're hanging out with me and we're chatting about movies, you better know these movies because they will come up in discussion numerous times throughout the year. So, yeah, I can definitely come up with a top 5. Top 10 might be pushing it. So I do actually like that a lot. But yeah, guys, that is our horror list. We got about 8 minutes here until we hit the hour mark. We're going to try and keep the conversation going until the full hour mark. It does feel like we've been streaming a little bit longer, honestly, than less than an hour. But yeah, I want to know what your guys' favorite horror movie endings are, and if you guys have any questions for either of us, and if you guys want to throw out suggestions for future episodes of Fear Freaks that you guys might want to see, throw those in the chat as well. Currently, we're getting our list together. Actually, there's one thing I did forget to do in the beginning that I'll do while you guys are coming up with those, and that is obviously thanking the awesome patrons of the channel. Thank you guys. You guys are the reason that content is able to, get better and better. So we appreciate your support and everything for the show, the channel, all that stuff. And this is the current Fear Freaks schedule. So obviously tonight we are doing top 5 horror endings, or we just did top 5 horror endings. There will be no show next week. Next week we were supposed to be doing the I Know What You Did Last Summer watch party. Unfortunately, the week kind of got a little crammed. So there's going to be no show this upcoming week. So tonight's show is technically making up for this past week and also this upcoming week. On July 5th, we've got an in-person horror trivia / game night, which is going to be a ton of fun. Destiny and I are going to be hanging out in person. So we're going to have to try and figure out how to do that stream.
I already have it in my head.
You already have it in your head? You got it?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. So she's going to be helping me out a lot that night then. Maybe Des is actually going to be the main one to run.
I will be. This is going to be my game show.
There you go. Hosted by Destiny Faulkner. So let's get it. So that'll be on July 5th. On July 12th, we've got Insidious The Red Door spoilers. That movie comes out next week, so be on the lookout, or make sure you guys see that and then watch this. And then on July 19th, we've got the Insidious ranking. So that's everything that's up and coming here on the show for the next month-ish. Lots of exciting stuff. Let's see what what you guys got here. I saw some more comments coming through. Sebastian says the Exorcist ending is amazing to me. It almost beats Halloween. Wow. I considered putting the Exorcist in the honorable mention. Exorcist might make top 10 for me. I really don't know what top 10 would be. All I know is that the two honorable mentions I gave tonight essentially would be for me 6 and 7 if we were going to like top 10. So yeah, I don't know. Mrs. Carter gave me a movie selection today and it was fantastic. Where's Mrs. Carter been? She's been MIA for me. But yeah.
I just saw her the other day on the stream. Where was it? It wasn't the other day. It was probably a couple weeks ago. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I saw her on Good Reels stream not too long ago.
Somewhere.
But yeah. Okay, not really seeing too many questions here, which is A-okay. But Destiny, what do you got coming up here this upcoming week?
Tomorrow, I will be on Good Real Hunting's channel for our Back from the Dead episode. And then nothing for the rest of the month.
Heck yeah. Yeah, the only thing I'm really essentially working on this week is my Insidious video. That's pretty much it. Is I got to get the Insidious video done. I'm trying to get that done for Friday, so it'll be out for Friday. If it is not out on Friday, I will try and have it out by Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. I don't know. All I know is that I need to have it completely edited and uploaded for release by late Wednesday night. So that's my deadline right now. But yeah, that's pretty much what's up and coming. Brett, man, I'm gonna message you about Monday. Don't worry about that. So with all that being said, everybody, post your guys' comments down below. Let us know, what do you guys think about the top 5 horror movie endings? Do you guys agree with our list? Do you guys have your own list? And if you guys do have your own list, let us know what your list is, because we want to hear about it. Whatever those thoughts are, comment below, let us know. And as always, hold on, we got a super chat. Thanks for doing all you do. I'll jump on Patreon to support. That means a ton, Maddie. Thank you so much. There should be a link in the description. If you do not see it, then please let me know. And have a great rest of your weekend as well. But what do we want to close out here with for this one? You know what? Let's do the second Bob's Burger one.
Hand it over. I want that money!
What?
There you go. So thank you so much, Maddie. We do appreciate that a ton. And with all that being said, join this channel on its journey to 15,000 subscribers. And we will see you guys next time on Fear Freaks. Have a great rest of your night and weekend. Good night, all.